Hello, welcome back to Armchair Armory, and I'm back after a week or so, well, a couple of weeks of not recording anything. I'm doing better, thankfully. The procedure that I had done went well, still kind of in the back end of it, but yeah, other than that, not too bad. Yeah, I thought I'd do a video. I said that I was probably going to wait until tomorrow to start posting videos again, but I thought I'd do a special Armchair Armory, haha, in light of the transfer window closing yesterday. I saw, obviously everyone out there is doing a deadline day reaction and a deadline day special and all that kind of stuff, and that's where I try to be different. I try to give myself a lot more time to spend with my wife and doing things that I enjoy doing, and then do YouTube when I feel like doing it, sort of thing. Some people will say I'm crazy, but yeah, that's how I like to do things. So yeah, transfer window closed yesterday. And it wasn't great in terms of incomings. Obviously, there's been a lot of... I sound like Harry Kane, obviously. There's been a lot of rumours of players coming in, particularly strikers. The two strikers that stand out are Alexander Isak and Dusan Vlahovic. In the end, that didn't come to fruition. It seemed like, and there's contrary rumours that we weren't in for Vlahovic from the start, that we were just a smokescreen for him eventually ending up where he's ended up, which is Juventus. There was also reports that we'd had a £60 million bid accepted, but it was just a case of Vlahovic and his representatives not being confident of moving to Arsenal, etc., etc. With Isak, I think he had a £75 million release clause that Arsenal wanted to negotiate down, but Real Sociedad didn't want to take any less than that. So, contrary to belief, that's what was out there. Unfortunately, none of the deals got over the line, and we have no incoming players going into the rest of the season, to the last 17 games of the season. In terms of outgoings, I guess the biggest thing to come out of the outgoings was Aubameyang's career at Arsenal is over. I did think, and I think I did say when the news broke, that he'd been stripped of the captaincy because of disciplinary issues, etc. The fact that he was training on his own, and the fact that he'd been ostracised from the squad, he hadn't played, he hadn't featured on the bench, etc., etc. Almost all but signalled the end for him, to be honest. And it's upsetting because it's another player that was good when he first came to us, similar to Mesut Ozil, that has left the club with a sour taste in his mouth, because he's not going to look fondly back on his time at Arsenal now. I remember when he signed his contract and they did that video with Ian Wright, and he said, the reason why I stayed is because I want to be a legend. I want to be like Thierry. I want to be like Robert Pires. I want to be like all these, I want to be like you, Righty, this, that, and the other. And I don't know if that's going to happen now. I mean, I think he's contributed a lot. He came in and he filled the gap that Olivier Giroud left behind. Olivier Giroud was a decent striker, but when it mattered, could never find the back of the net. You could say the same thing with Lacazette as well. You could say that Lacazette was a decent striker, but when it came down to it, he could never really find the back of the net that often. Like the Spurs, I think it was either in Wenger's penultimate season or Wenger's last season, the Spurs 1-1 draw, where he had a chance at the last minute and pretty much an open goal and missed it. But still, I'm not saying that Lacazette isn't a bad player. But anyway, going back to Aubameyang, it's just upsetting the way that it's happened. So he has signed on a free transfer. His contract was cancelled and he's moved to Barcelona. Was completed, I think, before 11 o'clock last night. And he's no longer an Arsenal player. We've loaned out Maitland-Niles to Roma, I'm kind of pissed off about that. I'm not necessarily pissed off that he got loaned out. I'm pissed off at the kind of timing of when he was loaned out, because he was loaned out just before we played Nottingham Forest, and he could have done a job just for that game. They could have waited like Arteta could have waited, or whoever made the decision to loan him out could have waited until after that game to do that. But then again, when Oxlade-Chamberlain was on his way out and going to Liverpool, everyone threw their toys out of the pram because we played him in the game against Liverpool that we lost 4-0. So yeah, you can't win really. But yeah, so I think the way that I see it with Maitland-Niles is that, like, it pisses me off because he was asked to play right back for Arsenal for two different managers, Arteta and for Emery, and he said he didn't want to do that. He wanted to play central midfield, that he sees himself as a midfielder. As soon as he goes to Roma to play for Jose Mourinho, he plays right back in his first game. It is what it is. And then obviously we've I need to stop saying obviously. We've also loaned out Folarin Balogun to Middlesbrough, who also scored on his debut. We have cancelled the contract of Sead Kolasinac, and he's gone to Marseille. As I think I mentioned in the Burnley preview, that's now 2 out of the 3 of the Ozil fan club, Mesut Ozil fan club, that have now gone to the same club. And then we've also loaned out Pablo Mari to Udinese, which is fair enough, because I didn't really see him getting into the team anytime soon, being that we're out of the cup competitions, unless there was an injury. And the other one that kind of shocked a lot of Arsenal fans was Callum Chambers, who signed for an undisclosed fee to Aston Villa. That was shocking, because I actually thought that Callum Chambers has never really not performed. Like, every time he's been put in, he's been pretty good. Like with the away tie in the Carabao Cup against Liverpool, when he came on for Cedric after Cedric got injured, he was really, really good. And 9 times out of 10 when he's come on with previous managers, he's done really well. And I thought that he was definitely ahead of Cedric in the pecking order for backup right back behind Tomiyasu. I mean, it kind of makes sense now, because at Burnley, was it against Burnley or against Liverpool? No, Tomiyasu came back in against. Oh no, yeah, it was against Burnley that White played at right back. So yeah, it's just one of those things. It was shocking, because I didn't expect Chambers to be sold, to be honest. I thought he had at least a backup place in the team. So that leaves us with no incomings and all of these outgoings. This now leaves us short for the rest of the season. I think it was good in terms of the outgoings, even though, like, I'm upset that Aubameyang's gone, and that's the thing. I'll get over it, because, like, Henry has left, Van Persie left, Sanchez left, Ozil's left. You just move on. But it means that because we didn't bring in a replacement striker for him, we now go into the rest of the season with Lacazette and Nketiah, 2 players that, like, have only scored 3 goals between them, and we're now very short in that area. So we're looking at making this attempt for top 4 a lot harder than it needs to be. And as I keep saying, and I'm going to consistently say it, and that's the difference, I think, anyway, it's going to sound really arrogant, but I think that's the difference between me and a lot of other Arsenal fans, is that my arguments have always remained consistent. That, like, I never thought from the start of the season that we were going to get top 4. I knew that the club were not going to get rid of Arteta after last season. I knew that they were going to give him at least this season. I mean, even it sounds like they might even give him more, because there was talk of him getting a new 2-year extension on his contract. But yeah, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think they should wait until the end of the season. But this club does silly things sometimes. Yeah, I never thought that we were going to get top 4. I think it's possible because of how well we played up until January, before the start of the new year. I think we've played really well, and we've got some very, very good results. And the fact that, if you compare it to the start of the season, where there were a lot of people that were saying, we're going to be fighting a relegation battle, after we lost those first 3 games to Brentford, Chelsea and Man City, you were worried. And then, we managed to turn it round. We went on that unbeaten run. I know that there was the performances against Palace and Brighton in there, but we went on that unbeaten run. We beat a couple of decent teams on the way. Spurs, Villa, West Ham, Leicester. And then we find ourselves not too far off the top 4 spot. And I was listening to Tom Canton from the Gooner Talk the other day, talking about how expectations change as the season goes on. And in some ways I get what he means, but I think at the same time you have to remain grounded, because if you keep thinking to yourself, if you keep changing with the wind, and I'm not saying that like changing your thoughts is not a bad thing. Like sometimes you do have to just adapt to new ideas and stuff like that. But at the same time, like if you don't remain grounded and if you don't remain realistic in your convictions, then obviously you're going to end up disappointed at the end of the day. And the way that I try to look at Arsenal, and I as I keep saying, this is why I'm saying I don't think that the problems that we've had or the problems that we have are down to Arteta and not necessarily even Edu. I think it's a bigger problem than that, because we've had this issue since Wenger was here. I just think that because we've had a few good results, it's made people believe, yes, we're going to get back into the Champions League. And I don't think that's healthy. I don't think that's healthy for us as Arsenal fans, because we're just going to, if we don't finish in the top 4, it's going to just make us look like idiots. At the end of the day, like you need to remain realistic. Like we probably at this moment in time, we probably have, on balance, we probably have the 5th or 6th, possibly even 7th best starting 11 in the Premier League. So in my eyes, I always thought to myself, I think we can get back into the Europa League, but I don't necessarily think. I think top 4 is a push. We'd have to go on an amazing run between now and the end of the season to get top 4. Wolves is coming up next, and I'm not even sure that we can get a result against them. Wolves are decent and they play very well at home, and they've battered us at home, as I've mentioned before in previews before. I think I can't remember which preview I mentioned it in, but one of the videos I did, or either the reactions or previews, I said that there was a year where they battered us 3-1, and they proper battered us that game. So and we don't do well there. So I think it's going to be tough regardless, and that again, citing Tom Canton, like they are 17 cup finals if we want to go for top 4. But that's the thing, I just have to be realistic about it. I mean, I'm always going to back the team, obviously, but like I can't be in delusions of grandeur of thinking, oh yeah, we're definitely going to get top 4. Even more so now with what's happened with the transfer window. Because if we brought in a couple of players, let's say we did bring in Alexander Isak and we brought in Artur Melo or something like that, those 2 players, I would be like, okay, yeah, we've strengthened a little bit, means we've got more of a chance. I think if we do get it, it will be an absolute miracle. It's all the other thing that I kind of wanted to get off my chest is just the fact that, like, from a sociological point of view, I'm kind of annoyed that we didn't do anything in this transfer window, because the toxic part of our fan base that look for any stick to beat, particularly Arteta with, will be rubbing their hands of going, yep, this is it. This is proof that he's no good. I'm just going to sit here and wait to be proved right. And that's the thing, because the planets have not aligned and we haven't brought anyone in, and the chances of us getting in the top 4, getting in the top 6 have slightly dampened because of it. They'll be waiting in the wings, saying I told you so. And that's the thing. Like, people are entitled to their own opinion, but it's just annoying that we have to put up with that much negativity. That's the thing. All I saw yesterday was like everyone just going in, just like not taken aback to just think of the bigger picture. Like there, it's not like this is the thing that annoys me. It's not like Arteta and Eddie are sat there going, "Oh, we don't need anyone. No, it's fine. We've got a good enough squad. It's okay. We don't need to sign anyone." They were actively trying to sign people. Maybe the issue is that we just didn't act quick enough with other players. There are other players available out there, You know, the tall bloke from Werder Bremen that's gone to Burnley, like, he was available. I mean, they think they signed him for like 10 million or something. Like, he was available. There was that other guy that was Vlahovic's replacement from Artur Cabral, I think his name is, from Basel. I hear he's pretty good, and he would have been good. So I don't know. Like, I just don't think we react. In some ways, we didn't react quick enough. But I just think it's just so boring to just every single time something goes wrong.
Get rid of everything. Turn it up. Blah, blah, blah.
Just the stream of sludge. It's just like watching Pandora's box empty. It's just this just horrible vitriol that comes out of this fan base when things don't go in their way. They're like children. It's unbelievable. I just hope on the 10th of February when we play Wolves that that you know, we play well and we win. Even if to be fair, even if we don't win, if we don't play well, win the game and just get this horrible feeling out, because that's the one thing that just embarrasses me about being an Arsenal fan, is just the toxic nature of our fan base. That's part of the reason, actually. I have a theory that's one of the reasons why players don't want to come to us anymore. I don't necessarily think that it's probably a factor, obviously, like European football and all that, but I also think it's because of the fan base. I think it's because as soon as you piss off the fan base, they're like a mob. They're like that scene in the Simpsons movie where all the Simpsons characters descend upon the Simpsons house. That's basically what they are. They'll destroy you, basically. And I feel like it's gotten worse since Arteta's been manager, and I think that's because of Arteta's position. I think it's because he's an inexperienced manager that's just been given this really, really high-profile job, which means people have turned their nakedness from naught to absolute C word. I'm not going to say it, but it's horrible. Like, it just makes me embarrassed to be an Arsenal fan sometimes when I see some of the things people say. And as I say, people are entitled to their own opinion, but there's no need to be abusive, and there's no need to be an absolute prick about things just because the club won't do what you want them to do. And to be honest, they're never going to do what you want them to do, because at the end of the day, they know what they're in their head. They know what they're doing, regardless of if you disagree with it or not. But yeah, I thought I'd get that off my chest, because it's just really pissing me off. Like, it's so annoying that I've just been kind of, I don't even know. I sometimes sit there and think to myself, why am I going on Twitter? Because I'm just going to get annoyed with people. And I feel like replying, but I'm like, that's just what they want. They want people to argue with them, and I'm not going to give them the time of day. Like, there are certain more famous kind of Arsenal YouTubers that will probably, as I say, will be rubbing their hands at this. They're like, this is proof of what I've been saying all along. Yeah, I don't know. It's just really, really annoying. But at the end of the day, all we can do is support the team. Like, yes, the transfer window didn't go well. In terms of incomings, anyway, it didn't go well. I expected us to at least sign one player. I was really convinced that we were going to sign a striker. But, you know, it is what it is at the end of the day. All we've got to do now is support the team, move on, and try and see how far we can finish. As I keep saying, if we finish outside the top 6, then we've got to have a conversation about where we're going and whether Arteta is the right guy, and if the process is working. Because at the moment, it's kind of like, like 50-50. I'd say that as I keep saying, there is something there. There is something there that he's doing that's changed the culture of the club and has made us perform a lot better in certain aspects. But there are other things as well that have come out that made me specifically think, I don't know about that. And that probably comes down to an experience. So if we do finish outside the top 6 again, we have to have that conversation again. Not necessarily saying he needs to be sacked as such, but we do need to have that conversation if we finish outside the top 6. Anyway, I'm not going to do what everyone else is doing and rate the transfer window, because it's just pointless. It's just arbitrary daft, to be honest. It hasn't been great, put it that way, in terms of incomings. In terms of outgoings, it's good if we do reinforce properly in the summer. But yeah, as I say, we just got to move on. There's no use crying over spilt milk, as the age-old saying goes. Right, I'm going to leave it there. I'll be back again, armchair armory wise, previewing Wolves, which will probably be at some point next week. So until then, take care and stay safe.